Welcome to the Windows Computer and Technology channel. And one of the things that I was asked as a question is about the CPU, or Central Processing Unit, speed of your computer. So, of course, when you buy a computer that has different things that, of course, you might be looking at, including the generation of the processor, the speed of the processor. And one of the things that one of the viewers to the channel has asked me is, I got a computer that runs at 2.4 gigahertz according to the CPU specs, but I've been seeing it running almost 3 gigahertz in speed. And of course, the question that came through is, I'm afraid that maybe something's wrong and it's gonna, break down because of that. So, first of all, don't overly think any of the parameters when you look at a computer. It's the computer knows how to actually work the hardware itself, and pretty much everything works in depending on the load of what you're doing and so on. Now, the example that you give is one that I can show you here. This is a Core i5 CPU it's a 5th generation CPU, as you see here, i5 5257. So it's an older CPU, and it's rated at 2.7 gigahertz. Now, you could see here, if you look closely, that my speed right now is at 3.08. So what gives? How come my CPU is going faster than the rated speed? Well, here's a trick. When you look at your CPU information here, it says there's a certain number of cores, which are 2 in this case. So 2 cores means that they can work both together, or only one core can be used. It depends on the software, and it depends because the software needs to be programmed in the consequence that it'll be using both cores. A lot of software aren't actually done in that way. A lot of 32-bit software, for example, will actually run only on a single core. So what happens is that when both cores are running at the same time, your speed is maxed out at 2.7, and that is decided for the heat dissipation, the amount of heat that can be generated and still be safe for the CPU. But if a software, or if Windows doesn't need 2 cores and only needs 1, then what happens is that you can actually run that single core at a faster speed, because, and it's called turbo on the CPU. And it's simple because the major factor that decides the speed of your CPU is the heat generation most of the time. If you throttle too fast, both cores, there's too much heat and it's going to destroy the CPU itself. But if you run one core only, you can actually run it faster because the other core is not generating any heat, so it's still manageable. You can manage one core at a faster speed. And this is what's happening here. 2.7 is the max if you have the 2 cores running at the same time, but 3 gigahertz is possible if only one core is running. So that is normal. It's normal to see your speeds. And this depends really on the software that you use. Depending on the software, some software will require 2 cores. You'll see that the speed will throttle down. Another thing that you might see also is a speed much slower than the advertised speed. So you might be looking at your Windows PC doing nothing, and you might notice that your base speed is 2.7, but it's rated at 1.4. And you're like, whoa, why is it running only at 1 gigahertz? Isn't that bad? It's, once again, a way for the computer to manage. If it's not actually asking much load to the CPU, what's going to happen is the CPU can actually throttle down the speed to a much slower speed because you don't need all the power. And, of course, you save energy, and, of course, it handles better because it has less heat that is generated within the computer. So, yep, it's totally normal to see a CPU advertised at a certain speed, in your case 2.4, and run much faster when it's running on a single core. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching my videos.